Hi, my name's Anna and this is where I share my making, predominantly knitting with some crochet, sewing and whatever else takes my fancy. I will apologise in advance if my words are a little bit lacking or jumbled in this video. I feel like the jet lag, I've sort of got delayed jet lag, so we have been over in the States for New York Sheep and Wool and a Woolen affair. I was over with Garthenor, vending at those two shows, and we got back 3-4 days ago, and for the first few days I was fine. I was like, I've nailed this. I'm not going to get any jet lag. I'm back in normal routine. And then yesterday and today, I feel like maybe the adrenaline has run out and I am tired. But I wanted to get this up and show you what we got up to while we were out there and what came home with me. And also what I was working on during the travelling. So if you follow Garthenor, you may have seen that we had quite a stressful trip, really. It wasn't, can't say it was the most enjoyable couple of weeks that we've ever had. It got better as the trip went on, thankfully, but we arrived and we flew into Boston a few days before a Woolen affair, which started on Thursday evening, and we spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, I say we, it was Johnny doing all the work, but I was there for moral support, just ringing FedEx because they had all of our stock for both the shows. It had been sent out well ahead of time with all the paperwork, all the forms, but for whatever reason it was getting delayed through customs, which meant that there was a point for quite a lot of that week in the run-up where we thought we weren't going to have any stock for either show, which was horrible because, as I'm sure you can imagine, it's a huge financial investment for the company, but also emotionally draining. And, you know, the team at the mill, of which, I mean, I have it easy. I just get to do the shows, but they had worked so hard ramping up production to get everything ready for the shows. So the fact that it might not have made it there was horrible. So we were staying about 2 hours away from where Woolen Affair was. We were staying with friends for the first bit of the trip. And so we waited there on Thursday for as long as we could. And early afternoon, a few of the boxes arrived. So we had enough stock for Woolen Affair. So we chucked them in the U-Haul, drove over to Woolen Affair and got set up in record time. So there was a preview evening on the Thursday, which was from 4 till 7, and I think we got there after 2 p.m. Normally shows you have a nice, at least a day to set up, or a long sort of morning, afternoon. But we got it done, and our lovely neighbours at the show were very kind in lending us some lighting because it was a little bit darker, being an evening event. So they got us all illuminated, and we were ready for everyone when they arrived at 4 p.m. The Woolen Affair is an event that I haven't been to before. It's, I think, in its, I want to say second year. It might have been going on longer than that. I think it's its second year. Anyway, it's organised by Catherine and Jessie. So Catherine owns Brooklyn General Store, which is on my wish list to visit. It is a lovely yarn and fabric shop in Brooklyn, New York. And so they had organised this wonderful event. It was at, I want to say it's called like Hutton Brickyards, I think. And it's right on the bank of the River Hudson. So I think some of the vendors, it was a little bit chilly because the breeze was a-blowing on that first evening. But luckily we were kind of tucked away in the middle. And yeah, just lovely selection of vendors. There was live music, there were really good food trucks, there was a really nice sort of area, community space run by, I think, Hobby Yarns, where you could go and hang out and chill. There were talks, so it was a really cool event. And we, as I say, had the preview evening on the Thursday and then a full day of that show on the Friday. Meanwhile, still checking in with FedEx to see where the rest of our stock was. But we had a great time. We met lots of lovely people, people who hadn't heard of us before, people who had and came to show us what they'd made. I always love that, seeing what people making some notes of future patterns that I might want to try. And you may remember that I was knitting some samples for the shows. So my ranunculus did get, not my ranunculus, this clearly is not made for me. I knit the smallest size so that I could get it done in time. But this got blocked out, and I feel like hopefully you can see some of the lace detail there. I'm so pleased with how this blocked out. It was looking ridiculously small, like I'd made it for a teddy bear. This is blocked out to create this really lovely fabric, and it was really popular. I think people, myself included, like I haven't used lace a lot, but they were quite excuse my voice. Yeah, they were quite interested in the lace on a larger needle. I think it creates a really nice fabric, really nice layering piece. Kind of wear it all year round, like over dresses and tights this time of year, or just with a little like camisole in the summer. So that was super popular, which was great, and it only needed 1 or 2 skeins of the lace weight, depending what size you're making. So a nice project to pick up. And then the other thing that I was making for the show was, or is not quite finished, the Polina vest by Teti Lutzak. And this was super popular. I think the colour work was just quite eye-catching, but I got this far. So it still needs a neckline, and it still needs some little, it's got like little capped sleeves. But I'm hoping this one might fit me. This one, I was so thrilled. So I was knitting on this and managed to get it so it vaguely looked like a garment, because until I think I finished this the Thursday evening after, or finished joining the shoulders Thursday evening after the Woolen affair party. So it's a little bit last minute, but I'm very pleased to say, I'm thanking my past self, have sewn all the ends in, because I was using little like ends of cones and stuff. So I sewed all of those in, and thank goodness our Airbnb had a steamer. So I was able to give it a quick steam block rather than a full block, but it just meant that the colour work sat a lot flatter. So I'm hoping that before, we've got like 2 weeks before our next show, so I'm hoping I can get that finished, because someone did come up to the sample rack at Rhinebeck, look at this and go, well, it's quite nice, but the neckline's hideous. So I had to rush over and be like, it's not finished. It will be finished. It's just ran out of time. But I think people actually quite liked it. In a way, and I think if you like this shape, just add a tiny bit of ribbing just to neaten up the edges and give it a bit more longevity. But yeah, the original pattern has quite a high neck, which I was never planning to do because I don't personally find them very comfortable to wear. So I think I will just add a small neckline, but I do really like the little capped shoulders, so I think I will add them in. But that was fun, helping people pick out different colour combos to make that. So those were, and then there was the beret as well, which I don't have with me, but I think I showed that in the last video. So I got a few more samples done. I'm not sure I'll get much more done before the next show, but we'll see. If I make anything, I'll show you. And yeah, so then we had full day of Woolen affair on the Friday, and I did get a chance to look around. Such a nice sort of atmosphere. It was, everyone was excited, but it didn't have that like frantic, stressful energy that some shows can have. It was nice and chilled, and they thankfully had sort of put the music stage far enough away that you still felt part of the event, but it wasn't drowning out conversations. And so Johnny did a talk on the Friday all about setting up the mill, which I think was super popular. I was on the booth, so I didn't get to see it, but from what I heard, the tent was full, so that was great. It's an impressive story, setting up your own mill. It's not as easy as you might think, but yeah, so it's nice to share that with people, and then they get to come see the yarn that has been made in the mill. So at that point we had an Airbnb nearby for the weekend, so that was nice. We didn't have as much driving to do back and forward, and our on the Friday, I think it was, a couple more of our boxes arrived, which was a relief. We hadn't quite worked out how we were going to have time to get them from our friends 2 hours away to Rhinebeck for the weekend, but they were at least vaguely in the right part of the country at that point, rather than stuck in Memphis, which is where they had been. I also had some time to do a bit of a little wander, to go find some nice treats. I put up a reel on my Instagram of what I picked up, so I won't go through that here. You'll see them pop up in future videos, but if you wanted to have a look, that is over on my Instagram. One thing I did want to mention that I got is our friend Alex's new book. It's called Kindred Knits, produced by Liner Publishing, and her full name is Alex Bird, and it's a beautiful book. So I've knit patterns from her first book, this is her second, and it's all inspired by, again, like similar to the first one, in using the traditional Estonian techniques but modernising them. And this one also features her sort of grandma's old sketchbooks really heavily, which is beautiful to see. So you can see all her sort of reference images, where she's pulled the different motifs from, and it's a really lovely collection. So if you're after a new pattern book, I would recommend. I might be a little bit biased, but it is genuinely beautiful, and as ever with Liner, the photography and everything is gorgeous. So that is one of the things that I picked up, as I say, the rest over on Instagram. And then Friday was a bit mad because the show shut, I want to say at 5. We managed to clear up in an hour, which again, unheard of at a yarn show. I'm sure other people managed to do it in that time, but for us, with that many skeins of yarn to pack away, it normally takes a lot longer, but we managed to keep them. We'd done sort of hanging rails, and so we managed to move them straight into the van, which was great. And then we headed from the Brickyards over to New York Sheep and Wool, which is about half an hour away, the other side of the Hudson, and that is at a big county showground there. So we arrived in the pitch black and got everything set up in hour and a half. I'd had the idea to build all the shelving beforehand, and we got a slightly bigger van that meant we could just transport it ready made. And then I think the adrenaline just meant we blasted through it, got what we had. I mean, as I say, we didn't have enough stock, so filling the shelves didn't take as long as it would normally, but we had some yarn. We were happy that we had some, and thankfully our friends Amanda and Alberto from Prada de Lana, who we were staying with before the show, that's where the boxes got shipped to, so they brought them over on the Saturday for us, so we had a little bit more, but everyone was very understanding, which was grateful. Rhinebeck was as crazy as ever. For those of you that don't know, it is it's referred to as Rhinebeck. Its official name is New York Sheep and Wool, and it's hosted at this showground, which is vast. I mean, we have county showgrounds in the UK, but the scale of this is something else. So there are sort of 3 really large halls, barns, and then there's sort of pop-up tents around the showground, as well as many other barns. I mean, this is my 3rd year visiting, and I found some barns that I'd never come across before. So it's sprawling and vast, and they sell over 30,000 tickets for the weekend. So it's a hell of a lot of people. But there's something really nice about it in that everyone is there because of a love of sheep and wool and fibre and fibre arts and knitting and crochet and all of that. So there's this really nice atmosphere, and everyone wears their favourite knitwear, and you get people stopping each other to ask what they're wearing, and it's really lovely. I get quite overwhelmed at points, but luckily we are near some doors, so I can just step out and get some air. But I mean, we live on the side of a mountain in West Wales. I don't see that many people every day. So to then see that many people in one weekend is quite something. I tried to take a few more clips this year, just so you get a sense of the events and what I'm talking about. What I will say is the clips of Rhinebeck are when it's quiet. So when we're swamped on the booth, I'm obviously not getting my camera out to film anything. So the clips you're seeing are it at its quietest. That will hopefully give you an idea of quite how full on a Rhinebeck weekend is. Not to put anyone off going, there is so much outside space there that it's very easy to step back if you're just going as a visitor. Obviously if you're working there it's slightly different, but yeah, it's lovely, and we lucked out with the weather. It was really quite warm, particularly on the Sunday. That always puts people in a good mood, although you have all these people desperate to wear their knitwear or this new jumper that they finished, or sweater, as I kept having to correct myself because people didn't understand what I was talking about. Yeah, so they'd have to they could keep their jumpers on for as long as possible, and then it would just get too warm. I will insert those clips here with a little voiceover explaining. I couldn't decide whether to just leave them with some music, but I thought it maybe makes more sense if I do a voiceover. So if it's annoying, you can just mute it. But yeah, hopefully that will give you an idea of the two shows and a bit of surrounding scenery, etc. After the opening evening of A Woolen Affair, we headed back to our Airbnb via a completely deserted diner, which actually did really good burgers. So that was a nice little pause in a hectic few days. So then we headed in on a very sunny Friday morning to the Brickyards. Stunning views out those white tents at all the different vendors. There's Johnny heading in. The queue was long. They were eagerly waiting to get in, but the doors weren't quite open, so I got a chance to say hello to the sheep. And this was our booth, so we had some new dyed colours back with us, and then the samples. So this was the ranunculus knit in number 1, and the Polina vest at the back there. Again, this was just before opening, so you can see vendors making little last minute tweaks. So thankfully, being tucked in one of the middle aisles, we were a bit more sheltered from the river. And then the crowds descended. Well, I say that, it was very chilled. Everyone potted in quite slowly, and yeah, you can see the river right at the end there. And then it filled up, and there was this lovely buzz throughout the whole weekend. There were also people just sat by the river enjoying the weather and doing some knitting. This was the spin cycle booth, so obviously quite busy. And then the stage for the music, which had this really chilled vibe, and plenty of space to sit and eat as well. This was one of my favourite dogs from the weekend. The most disappointing cup of tea I have ever had. However, the croissant was excellent, so can't win them all. This stand had a really great little pick and mix bar of labels. This was a verb for keeping warm. I loved that boucle. And then our neighbours, Lily Loops and Up Studio Brooklyn. Another excellent dog. And the sun was out for the whole day, which was fab. This was Oh June, where I bought a lovely little zip pouch and
of course, being a florist, I was very much enjoying all the flowers dotted around. I think this was me taking a breather for my lunch, with just the most stunning views. I would have quite liked to join those girls sat on the riverbank. And just a few little clips and snippets of some of the lovely stands I went past on my way back from lunch. So many beautiful colours. It's a real nice mix of vendors at the show as well. And then just like that, it was time to pack up and head off to Rhinebeck. So this is us crossing over the Hudson just as the sun was setting. Might be able to tell the traffic was a bit stop-start. There we are, expect delays. The knitters are coming to town. So this is the barn that we were in, and with some movie magic, it was all set up. Then it was back to the Airbnb. We were ready to crash at this point. Saturday was another gorgeous morning, crossing over the Hudson to get to Rhinebeck. With some real big skies that rival Norfolk, where I'm from. It's always reassuring when you see the big billboard for New York sheep and wool, you know you're in the right place. And then this is us turning into the showground. I don't feel like the scale is... Can't really fully appreciate it on these videos, but there was a lot of people. Here we are heading in for day one. This lovely lady had bought us some baked goods to keep us going, and the yarn shopping commenced. So this is one of the big barns. There are 3 this size, and then the others are slightly smaller, but there's a lot more of them. And this was me trying to get back to the booth. You can't get anywhere very quickly at Rhinebeck. A much better cup of tea, thanks to Claire. She went and found me one. Very much appreciated. And the trees at this time of year are stunning. This was Hall & Hoof, who make the most beautiful ceramic buttons. I could not make a decision, so I didn't get any this year, but I think I need to have a project planned for next time. So as you can see, there's lots of space to kind of chill out, as well as the slightly more crazy shopping areas. And that was day one over in the blink of an eye. Very much enjoyed this guy's number plate. And then we got stuck in traffic. It should have taken us half an hour to get back to the Airbnb. It took us almost 2 hours. Yeah, the less said about that, the better. We finally escaped and crawled over the bridge, ready to put our feet up. We did, however, stop off in Sogatees on the way back. Dinner. which really was oven fresh. We rang ahead, but they got it out the oven when we got there. Don't judge me for putting pineapple on my pizza. I think it tastes nice. Then here we are, day 2. We had I don't know if they're county sheriffs or whatever with their jazzy hats directing us in. You can see the shelves were looking a little bit bare, but we still had lots of lovely yarn for people to squish. The toys were made out of reclaimed cashmere jumpers. And then I stumbled upon a parade of llamas at this point in the day, which was good fun. And then in order to get a bit of a breather, I went and found the sheep and said hello to them. This guy was the only one in his class, so he got first place. I think they were enjoying the sunshine too. Apart from this one, who was clearly determined to break free. I thought these guys had particularly good hairstyles. It's funny seeing Cotswold sheep and Hampshire in the US. They're a long way from home. And so every barn you can see in these clips is more vendors. So these barns get quite full quite quickly. Popped over to see Trinkles, or see Katie. Yeah, just yarn and fibre as far as you can see. Something was happening in the show arena. I think they were trying to make llamas jump. I'm not quite sure. I wasn't tall enough to see over the crowds. More beautiful flowers. These were locally grown dahlias from Sawkill Farm, who also had some lovely yarn. Yeah, it's just sort of picturesque autumnal day, really. Yet another good dog. This one had incredibly blue eyes. And just like that, we got it all in the van and it was over for another year. I was very impressed with my van packing Tetris. Johnny did the carrying, I did the organising. And we got out of there as quickly as we could. That was Rhinebeck done and dusted for another year. Not sure we've ever managed to get out in the daylight before, so that was a nice win. Back across the bridge to our Airbnb one last time. I'll never not film that view. It's just so incredible. These trees hadn't quite turned. I feel like if we'd been there a week later. And then this is a little peek at our Airbnb. Because if you're like me, you quite like being nosy at people's houses. And this one was delightful. There was a porch out the front there, which I did have time to sit on and have a cup of tea on the last day. And then our living room, kitchen, and out the back door to our trusty U-Haul that ferried us around. And we had lovely views up to the mountains. And then on our way back east, we stopped off in Sogatees again because I had heard talk of a yarn and tea shop and that felt like somewhere I needed to visit. And it was delightful. obviously a little bit overloaded with yarn at this point, so it was just a gentle browse. But the ladies that work there were really lovely. And they had maps for where everyone had come from. I think we actually forgot to put a pin in Wales. And then we had a little wander around the town, found some lunch, and this really lovely bookshop was a mix of second-hand books and new, and they also had vinyls and a coffee shop at the back. And then we followed that up with an incredibly rainy drive back to our friends in Massachusetts. It felt like being at home, really. Grey and rainy. I did enjoy this bridge, though. I would have shown you the view of the river we were crossing, but you couldn't really see it with the rain lashing down. And then with that, we were back for a few days to sort all the stock and decompress before flying home.
There you go. I hope that gave you a bit of an idea of what we got up to. And on the Sunday, it is much quieter, especially in the afternoon. And by that point, our shelves were gappy, which is lovely. Like, we were so grateful that people bought yarn, but there were a few gaps. So I had a chance to have a little look around, and so did Johnny. I did do a little bit of shopping. So one thing I got, which here it is. So this is pencil roving that I got from Lily Loops. She was opposite us at a Woolen affair, and it's this beautiful like pinks and corals, so very up my street. And I really wanted to do some spinning whilst I was there, and I hadn't taken a drop spindle. What a shame, I had to go buy one. But I'd seen these before and I'd never used one. So these are Turkish drop spindles. Hopefully you can see the shape there, but as you spin, you wrap them around these pieces at the base, and it means that I will end up with a centre pull ball of yarn at the end, or a single ply at the end. So one of these, I can't remember which one, I don't want to test it till I finish, but one of these slides out once the pole, so this is movable. This is a terrible demonstration. So you slide that out and then slide these arms out, and then you're left with that. Yes, I got this, and I got a sort of turquoisey blue set, but because it's pencil roving, it's super easy because all the drafting's been done for you, so I can just sort of tease this out and then off I go. It's Blue Face Leicester, which isn't a fibre I've spun with before, but I'm enjoying it, and you can see it's quite fine. But I think I'm going to do it as possibly a 3-ply. I'll see how I go. It might just be a 2-ply. But yeah, this was just like a nice calming activity for the evenings. Sort of decompress after crazy days of yarn shows. I also went over to, let's get the right bag here, the Harrisville stand, which I always like to go and visit. So they design tote bags each year, or they work with an artist to design a new tote bag each year. So I picked up the 2025 iteration, which is this really fun black and white design. So it shows the whole process at the mill, from the sheep. It's got like the mill carts that you move all the cones around in, which is cool to see. So Harrisville are a woolen spinning mill based in New Hampshire, and so slightly different to our mill. We're worsted spinning, but it's always nice to see them. Nick, who runs it, is super lovely, and him and Johnny have some good chats about machines and stuff. So whilst I was over there, I picked up, no, not in that bag. Where did I put it? So many bags. In this bag, I got 2 tote bags. So Harrisville have their own yarn, which I have knit with before. I made a cowl in their Nightshades yarn, but they also have I don't know if it's like a sister brand or quite what, but there's a brand called Peace Fleece, and they work with Indigenous people and their flocks of sheep to bring their wool to market, and they make beautiful yarn. It previously just came in a worsted weight, which I've used before to make hat and like a slip over vest, and it now comes in a double knit weight DK, which they sort of launched at the show. And I saw this online and I was like, oh, I might just go have a look. It'd be rude not to go have a look. So I got enough to make a jumper in this colour, which is called Vulgasippy Blue. It's got slightly fewer tones in than the other one I'm going to show you, but I just love this colour. I think this sort of pale blue really suits me. I have very blue eyes, and so I'm excited to make just like a really cozy, simple, chuck on over everything, comfy jumper with that. So it is 50% Navajo Rambier, 30% domestic fine wool, 20% mohair. So yeah, it's got that sort of structure, and it's a little bit, I think rustic's maybe pushing it too far, but it's not like it's not slippery like a merino on its own, but it's nice and soft next to the skin. So I'm excited to make a jumper in that. And again, they designed this tote bag for the weekend, which I thought was really cool. And then the other Peace Fleece I got, I have already started knitting with. So you'll see in this one how some of them have so many different colours in there. Of course, as I said that, the sun's gone in, but hopefully you can see. So from a distance, it's a sort of bluey grey, but then if you look up close, you've got purples, sort of burnt caramelly shades, blues, turquoises, all sorts running through there. And this colour is Zarya Fog, Zarya. Same double knit weight as the previous one I showed you. And in that I have started making, I think it's called the Sunday Morning Shawl. It's by Espace Tricot. It's a free pattern that I've sort of looked at for years, and you alternate between stockinette and twisted rib, and then so this is like the center back, and it's a large triangular shawl. It's not sitting very well on the needles there, but so I started working on this when we were going from our friends to Boston Airport before we flew home, and on the carding I also wound up the wool. So one thing, I don't have it with me, I don't think. I must have packed it away, put it away somewhere already, but I got a tool from our friend Katie at Trinkles, which helps you hand wind centre pull balls of yarn. So I wound this myself. It's looking a bit funny because it's been squashed in my bag, but yeah, I've really enjoyed just doing a bit of quiet hand winding. Also great for travel when you don't have a Swift and winder with you. So yeah, I hope you can see all the colours that are in there. So I think that's going to be a really nice squishy cozy scarf. I knit it on the recommended needle size, which is 4.5. I normally go down half a needle size, but I quite like that this isn't, it's a slightly more flowy fabric. I didn't want it too stiff as a scarf, so I'm looking forward to working on that. I think I'll put it up and pick it up and put it down rather than work on it solidly, just because the rows are going to get so long, and I think I might get a bit bored if I just work on that. So that will be an ongoing project. And then whilst we're here, I'll show you what else I was working on the trip. So this is what I have been crocheting. So this is the Estrid scarf by Tanya's Crochet, and I'm doing this in the Raw Wool Company Sport Weight lamb's wool. Sorry, I've got the label here. Wensleydale lamb's wool in the colour Storm on the Horizon. I'm trying to like improve my crochet, so I've mainly made little animals and stuff just for fun, but I'm trying to get like a more even tension over pieces like this, which I think is going okay. I got my increases a bit wrong at one point, but I don't think anyone will be able to tell. So you crochet, you start skinny end and then work your increases and then do a chunk flat. So I'm just about to start decreasing, and then there's a border that sort of goes around the whole thing, which has a bit more detail, like a bit more of a interesting design. I completely misread the pattern and I'm short on yarn, so I need to pop onto Anton's website and order another one so that I can finish it. I have a bit left, but I'm just gonna hold off in case it's a different spin and I need to like alternate them at all. But yeah, I'm also excited. It feels it's quite rustic, but I think it will soften with blocking, and I feel like it's going to be like a good card wearing, just a little keep me warm if I'm popping out around the farm. So I will keep working on that. I think I might go order that second skein once I've finished filming this before I forget, and that sort of flounders in a project bag for months. So yes, those were two of the things I was working on. The other thing, whilst we're doing projects, is this hat, which I think I mentioned in my last video. It's the Milk Punch hat by Thea Coleman, and this I made in some ritual dyes that Johnny picked me up at Flock. So I can't see what my hair's doing, but hopefully this doesn't look silly. Yeah, I love it. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to have enough yarn. I thought I was going to have to sort of play around with the depth of the brim a bit, but I had plenty. I had one skein. It's originally done in the I think it's a magpie worsted, maybe quartet worsted from them, but this is Elder from Ritual Dyes in the colour Clay. I've fallen in love with this wool. It's so nice and round and bouncy, but again, not slippy. Yeah, I haven't blocked this. I don't really block hats. So I need to have a look in the mirror to whether this like stitch pattern shows enough when I wear it, or whether it could benefit from a block. I guess around a balloon, I don't really know. Because if I block it and lie it flat, that just seems a bit like it's not really going to achieve much, and I could end up with a really weird shaped hat. But yeah, it was really fun to make. It's all just knits and pulls, there's no cabling or anything, so it was nice and simple, really easy chart to follow, and then some clever decreases in pattern. So yeah, I'm really chuffed with that. That is my new autumn hat finished, and I did get to wear it on the trip, so that was good, because I somehow managed to pack 0 knitwear to wear. The run up to the show was a bit chaotic and stressful, and so I ended up just chucking a load of stuff in the suitcase the evening before we left, or the morning we drove to the airport, I can't quite remember, and just didn't pack anything knitted, which was annoying because I'd have liked to have worn it, but I finished that, so I had a bit for half the trip. I got 2 other things at Rhinebeck to show you. The first was just a little souvenir, so they do these each year. They have a different design for each show, and this was this year's design, so I just got that on a little drawstring bag. I have one from last year. I don't think I got one the first year I went, which is a bit annoying, but yeah, I just thought it was really sweet, very autumnal, sheepy design. And then the final thing I have looked at every year that I've been to Rhinebeck. It is by Loop Fibre Studio, and it's their Yin Yang yarn. That's not easy to say quickly. And this year, Johnny very kindly got me some to make a jumper. So it's marled yarn, but what they do is, so this one is 3 plies of the reddy orange and 1 of the sort of minty colour. And then this skein is reversed, so it's 3 of the mint and 1 of the red. And so they look really cool together. So I'm going to be making I just copied their sample. I didn't have the brain power to to think of something clever, and they had some really lovely samples. So they're going to make the colouring book Raglan by Amy Sher, which I've made before, which is great because I already have the pattern. So this is going to be the main colour with some stripes of the sort of minty colour, and it's super soft. It is worsted weight, so it won't take too long to knit up. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I've been making, what came home with me, and then a little bit of clips of the shows. We did have a really great time despite the sort of roller coaster of stress that was the run up, but it worked out well in the end, and it was nice to be reminded how like kind and helpful strangers and other vendors yeah, people can be. Everyone was very lovely, which made things easier. Our next show is Make Joy in London in 2 weeks, and then, or just under 2 weeks, and then we're off to the west coast of America for Sacred Sheep, and then I think we will just be hibernating for the winter, because that's a lot of travelling around, and yeah, be nice to be in one place for a bit. I did realise actually that my first ever video that I put up on this channel was a Rhinebeck recap from 2024, so it has been a whole year of videos. I am very pleased to say that there's a few more of you now than when I started, and yeah, thanks for watching and happy making. Bye.